We're going to cover in this video segment statistics. Now, we're not going to be talking about the kind of statistics that you may have taken in an advanced high school course or something they'd be teaching in college. We're going to limit our discussion of statistics to what you might see on the SAT, and that's namely what you may have learned or should have learned in the 7th grade. And three of the important things that you'll recall were the arithmetic mean, just called the mean or the average, and the median and the mode. So what I'd like to do is give you a brief review of what those three things are, and then go straight into looking at some of the typical questions you might see on the SAT and show you how to solve those problems. All right, let's look at the three terms that I had mentioned. We have the arithmetic mean, we'll just call it the mean, and some people may prefer to call that the average. We have the median, and we have the mode. So before we get into doing some actual problems, let's make sure we understand what these are. The mean, or the average, of course, if you have a bunch of numbers, we'll just make up some numbers. Let's have 4, 2, 3, 9, 7, 7, 10. And this is some data that's been collected, okay? And if you want to know what the mean is, when you're doing the mean, you don't have to worry about what order they're in. Now, it's going to be different for median down here, but let's look at mean right now. So all you do is you add all these together, and then you count how many different items you had, and you divide that into it. So we get 4 plus 2 is 6, plus 3 is 9, plus 9 is 18, plus 7 is 25, plus 7 more is 32, plus 10 is 42. And we're going to divide that by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 items. 7 goes into 42, so our average would be 6. Now, what would be the median of that same information? Well, when you do median, what you have to be careful with median is you have to first put them in proper order from the smallest to the largest. So we would rewrite this as 2, 3, 4, then we have 7, 7, 9, and we got 10. Now what you have to do then, and the way that I was taught many years ago, was just start marking off from the sides and try to find where the middle is. We go here, mark that off, then we go from here, mark that off, then we go from here, mark that off, and we find out that our middle number is 7. So the median in this case would be 7, which you see is different from the mean. The thing you have to be careful of when you're doing median, if there is a question on median, is you'll notice here that we had 7 items, but if you have an even number of items, you're going to end up with 2 numbers in the middle. And what you do in that case is add those 2 numbers together and divide by 2 in order to find the median. And you probably recall that. Now mode, that just means what pieces of data have been repeated the most in the group of data information. And in this case, you have 2 7s, so your mode would be 7. The thing to remember here is that you can have more than one mode. So if I had 2 7s and 2 4s in there, then your mode would be both 4 and 7. So these are the only things you need to remember about mean, median, and mode. Now let's look at some actual problems. Okay, here we have a statistical problem, and it's supposed to be an easy one. Let you be the judge of that. Let's read it together. A survey of town X found an average, which is the arithmetic mean, of 3.2 persons per household and a mean of 1.2 televisions per household. Now, if there's 48,000 people in this hypothetical town, how many televisions are in the town? So you can see by what they're asking you to find, you need to know how many households you have, because that's going to be, you've got 1.2 televisions per one of these households. So how do we find out how many households we have? Well, we know the average is 3.2 persons per household. So if there's 3.2 persons and there's a total of 48,000, we're going to divide 48,000 by 3.2 in order to find out how many households we have. Now, if you've got a calculator, and you will be able to use a calculator, so I advise using a calculator to do this, you're going to find that this goes into there 15,000 times. So we have 15,000 households, and that's what we were trying to find out, so we could multiply it times 1.2. So we take 15,000 and we're going to multiply by 1.2. That's 0, 0, 0, 10, carry a 1, 3, and then we got 15,000 here. And we put 0, 0, 0, 0, 8, 1, count over one place. And so our answer is 18,000, which is C. Let's take a look at another problem. This one's a little tougher, and quite frankly, I'm surprised to just put a 6 by it, because it's kind of convoluted, and you'll see what I'm talking about as we work through this. A college student bought 11 books for fall classes. Now, if the cost of his anatomy textbook was 3 times the mean cost of the other 10 books, then the cost of the anatomy textbook was what fraction of the total amount that he paid for the 11 books? Okay, let's say C equals the cost of the 10 books they're talking about here, okay? Okay, so if that's the cost of that, and there are 10 books, then the cost of that anatomy book is going to be, because it's the mean, it's 3 times the mean, we're going to have to divide this C by 10 to get the mean, and then we know that 3 times that is the cost of the anatomy book, okay? But we need to find out what the total cost is, because we want to know what fraction of this total cost, okay? So how would we find the total cost? Well, if this is the cost of the anatomy book, which wasn't included in those 10 books, then you're going to have to add C over here. Now, another way to write this would be, so I'm just going to keep these fractions. I'm going to say 3C over 10, and I have to, if I'm going to add it, I have to put this in tenths, and this would be the same as 10C over 10, and we know that that's going to be the two items to get the total cost. That's how much it costs for all of the 11 books. So we need to make a denominator out of this, the total cost, and we want to use this up here, which is the cost of the anatomy book, as the numerator. So let's go ahead and just combine these things here, and we get that 3C and 10C's, 13C over 10. That's the total cost. And we're making a ratio here because we want to come up with a fraction. And we know that this was the cost of the anatomy book, and we want to know what the ratio is of these two. So I'm going to put that, go ahead and multiply, it's 3C over 10. Now, to compare these, I'm going to multiply the top and bottom by 10, times 10, times 10. And these will cancel out. And we end up with 3C over 13C. And I can then cross these out, and I end up with 3/13, which is this answer right here.